So welcome to the 1 week workshop on Amazon Web Services of day 2 session. So in the last session, we have seen a brief introduction towards cloud computing. What is the need for cloud computing? What are the different models that are available in the cloud computing? There's a cloud service providers that are available in the market, especially with respect to the AWS. We have talked about what are the different types of certifications that are available in AWS, which are again the authorized by AWS itself. And then we have seen a brief overview on different services that are available in AWS. So in this particular session, we are going to look after a service which is called as S3. Okay, I'll talk about a service called S3. So here we'll be talking about a brief introduction towards the service called S3. And then in the S3 service, we can work with a couple of commands or a couple of things that we are going to do, such as we are going to create buckets, we are going to work with the ACLs, which are called as access control list. And finally, we are going to conclude this session by one major important thing that need to be understood, which is called as a static website hosting. Okay, we are going to host one static website in the S3 buckets or in the S3 service, you can say. Right. So now, before that, let me have a brief introduction towards S3 service. Now, what is this S3 service? So if you talk about S3 service, this is the symbol of S3 service, or this is the logo of S3 service, which is officially provided by AWS itself. Now, what is this S3? Why we are calling it as S3? So there are three Fs that are going to be available in that, in this particular service, and hence we are calling it as S3. So there are three Fs that are available, and hence we are calling it as S3. But what actually each one of these S represents? So the first S represents simple, the second S represents storage, and the third S represents the service. So on a whole, we are going to call it as simple storage service. So as the name itself, you can see the name clearly. So it is something, or this is the service which is used in order to store the data. Okay, whatever the data that we have in our physical devices or in our laptops, all the data, if you want to store it in the cloud environment, especially in the AWS cloud environment, we are going to use this particular service, which is called as S3. So S3 is basically a service which is used to store the data that is available with us. Okay, whether the data can be available on the on-premise location, whether the data can be available in the physical devices, maybe your laptops, pen drives, hard disk. So all the data you can store in the S3 service, which acts as the storage capacity. Okay, which acts as the storage capacity in the cloud environment, especially in the AWS cloud environment. And hence, we are going to call this as AWS S3 service, okay, or Amazon S3 service. Now, what actually consists of this S3 service? Suppose if you talk about the S3 service, before talking about this one, let us interrelate this particular service with the natural things that we generally have. Now, we all have the laptops or the desktops. Now, in our desktop, if you want to store any files, okay, if you want to save any files or if you want to download any files, so where we are going to store all these files? All these files will be stored by creating a folder. So we will just create one folder in our laptop, and in that folder, we are going to keep the files. Now, the same thing when you are going to create in the AWS cloud environment, okay, the same thing when you are going to create in the cloud environment, what we will use is, we will use the service called S3. Okay, we will use the service called S3 in order to store the data. But in the cloud environment, we don't create something called as a folders. Okay, we don't create any kind of folders. But what we will create is, we will create something called as buckets. Okay, in AWS, we are going to call this as bucket. So inside the bucket, we are going to store the files that are available. So in the normal environment, that is in the physical devices, that is maybe in our laptops or the desktops, whatever that we have, we are going to create one folder. And whereas in the cloud environment, especially in the AWS cloud environment, we cannot create any folders. Instead, we can create the buckets. Okay, we can create a bucket. So bucket is nothing but a folder. Okay, bucket is nothing but a folder. If you create a folder in the physical device, that is in the laptop or desktop, you are going to call it as a folder. But the same folder, when you are going to create in the cloud environment, it is called as a bucket. Okay, it is called as a bucket. Now, in our physical devices, that is our laptops or desktops, once we create the folder, we are going to store the files inside this folder. Okay, we are going to store the files inside this folder. But whereas in the S3 bucket, we should not call the files as files. Instead, what we are going to call them as, we are going to call them as objects. Okay, we are going to call them as objects. So in the normal devices or in the physical devices, we will create a folder, and inside the folder, we are going to upload some files, or we are going to create some files, maybe the text documents, PDF documents, image files, or the video files, audio files, whatever that are there. So we are going to create one folder in our laptop, and in that folder, we are going to store the files, whatever that are required. But in the cloud environment, what we will do is, first we will create an S3 bucket, and after creating the S3 bucket, we are going to store the objects in the S3 bucket. Okay, whatever the things that you are going to store, maybe here also you can store the image files, PDFs, whatever the type of things that you want to store. You can store any kind of data or any type of data in a S3 bucket. But what we are going to call such kind of things are called as objects. Okay, so we are going to create a bucket in the S3 service. In the bucket, we are going to upload the files, and those files are called as objects. Okay, those files are called as objects. So that is the terminology that you have to remember with respect to S3 service. So in S3, we have buckets, and inside the buckets, we can store objects. Okay, inside the buckets, we can store objects. Now, suppose let's say I have in the cloud environment, that is in the AWS cloud environment, I have created one bucket. And this bucket, in this bucket, I have uploaded some files. Okay, I have uploaded some files. Now, whatever the files that I have uploaded, that means again, the objects, whatever the objects that I have uploaded into the S3 bucket, can I download these objects into my personal computer? Is it possible to download the objects that are available in the cloud environment into our laptops or desktops? Yes, it is possible. So we can download whatever the objects that are available in the cloud environment. All those objects can be downloaded into our physical devices. Okay, into our physical devices. So that's something that we are going to do in this particular session. So in this session, what we are going to do is I'll show you how to create an S3 bucket in the cloud environment, and how to upload the objects in the cloud environment, and then how to work at an advanced level of S3 service. This is what we are going to focus in this particular session. Right. So before I go to the AWS cloud, let me talk about a few introduction points that are required with respect to S3 service. So here S3 is a storage service. Okay, S3 is a storage service available in AWS cloud. Okay, S3 is a storage service available in AWS cloud. And here in S3, okay, we can call it as S3 terminology. I hope you are seeing the notepad screen. So in S3, we have two types of terminologies. What are they? We have something called as a buckets, and we have something called as objects. Okay, we have something called as buckets and objects. So what are buckets? Buckets are nothing but folders. Okay, these are folders that we are going to create in our laptop. Okay, buckets are nothing but the folders that you are going to create in the cloud environment. And whatever the files that you are going to upload, all those files are called as objects. Okay, files uploaded in the bucket. Okay, files uploaded in the bucket are called as objects. Okay, so this is the terminology that we have to remember. Now here, the question is, how many buckets can we create for each AWS account? So for each AWS account, we can create 100 buckets. Okay, we can create 100 buckets. Okay, we can create 100 buckets per each AWS account. Sorry, per each AWS account. So whatever the AWS account that you are having, for each account, you can create 100 number of buckets. Now, what is the limitation, or what is the storage capacity? So when I say it's a storage, for everything, we have some limitation, right? Suppose, let's say, if you are buying a pen drive of 36 GB. So how much is the maximum amount of data that you can store in that pen drive. So you can store a maximum of 36 GB of data. So you cannot store something like 36.5 GB or 40 GB or 45 GB, something like that, because that's the maximum limit. But here we don't have any such kind of limits in the cloud environment. So the limit is there, but it's at a higher level. So as far as AWS free account is concerned, okay, in AWS we have the free tier account. Usually, whatever the accounts that we are going to work, we are going to create one free tier account. So free tier account is nothing, but I'll talk about that one in some time. But let me just complete this point. So in AWS free tier account, okay, AWS free tier account allows us, okay, allows us to store up to 5 GB of data. Okay, up to 5 GB of data you can store with respect to the free tier account. So that's the limitation with respect to the free tier account. But a maximum of, okay, per each bucket, or in each bucket, you can say, in each bucket, we can store up to 5 TB of data. Okay, we can store up to 5 TB of data. You can just imagine. So we are able to create 100 buckets in each AWS account. So in each bucket, we can store 5 TB of data. So that means on a whole, how much amount of data you are able to store? 500 TB of data, which is very, very huge. Suppose, let's say I want to store the data. Let's assume it in this way. You are working as a data analyst, or you are working as a data scientist, or a machine learning scientist, or the artificial intelligence scientist. So for these people, they are going to store huge amounts of data. Okay, it's not even 100 TB, or it's not even 200 TB. Sometimes it goes beyond 500 TB also. Now, in that case, what they have to do? Are they going to create a new AWS account? No, it's not required. So what we can do is, in some cases, okay, let me keep it as note. So suppose if you want to store, okay, if you need additional storage, okay, if you need additional storage that is beyond 500 TB, that is beyond 500 TB, we can raise a request to AWS Cloud. Okay, we can raise a request to AWS Cloud. Okay, we can raise a request to AWS Cloud to allocate the additional storage capacity. Okay, to allocate the additional storage capacity. Now, for this additional storage capacity, do you have to pay any amount? Yes, you have to pay for that. So whatever the additional storage that you are going to make a request for, this additional storage, you have to pay. Okay, on paid basis, you can say, on paid basis. So they are going to tell you the charge that is going to require, and that amount you have to pay. And once you pay that amount, we are going to get that additional storage, whatever that we want. Suppose, let's say you are raising a request to have some 600 TB of storage capacity. However, you are getting 500 TB. So you need just additional 100 TB of storage capacity. So you can raise a ticket to the AWS Cloud saying that you need additional 100 TB of storage capacity, and they are going to calculate the price for that 100 TB storage, and they are going to give you the quotation. And once the quotation is appropriate for you, or is it according to your requirements, then we can go further and we can get the additional storage capacity. So that's about the storage capacity that we are going to store in the S3 bucket. So usually the AWS accounts, okay, types of AWS accounts, you can say. So types of AWS accounts. We have 3 different types of AWS accounts. The first one is called as a free tier account. Okay, the first one is called as a free tier account. And the second one is called as a professional account. The professional account. And the last one is called as business account. The business account. Suppose who is going to use the free tier account? Whoever is going to practice on AWS Cloud, or whoever are the beginners, everybody will have the free tier account. Okay. So this free tier account, you are going to get it for 12 months of period. So from the day that you are going to create the AWS account, from that day, you are going to get up to 12 months, you're going to get the free tier account. You don't need to pay anything in order to work with these 12 months. Okay, in order to work in these 12 months, you don't have to pay anything. But again, remember, when I say you don't have to pay anything, that is just for the account. if you are using any services in the AWS, service-based charge will be available. I talk about what is that service-based charge when I'm talking about EC2 service. That is maybe tomorrow's session. In tomorrow's session, I'll talk about that. So not tomorrow, day after tomorrow's session. So as far as free tier account is concerned, your whatever the account that we are going to create, that account is called as a free tier account. And this free tier account, you can use it for 1 year of duration. Now you may ask, what happens to our account after 12 months of period? Automatically, it gets terminated. Okay, they will send you some reminder mails that your account is about to expire. So whatever the data that you have kept in the cloud environment, you can just store the data in your physical devices, or you can also ask for the extension of your free tier account. Suppose, let's say you have created one free tier account and you have used it for 12 months. Now, you don't want to discontinue with this account. You want to use the same account for future also. Now, what you can do, now you can raise a ticket to AWS Cloud saying that I want to continue this account. Now, what they will do, they will ask you whether you want to convert this free tier account into a professional account or a business account. So depending upon your requirement, you can tell any one of these two. So if you need a professional account, some benefits will be there. If you need a business account, some additional benefits will be there. So based upon your requirement, you can tell which type of account you want to switch to. Then they are going to switch your free tier account to any of the account that you need. So that's the 3 types of accounts that we have. So usually for a beginner or for the people who are generally working on AWS Cloud, we are going to have the free tier account. But when you join in any company or when you work for a company, you will either be given a business account or a professional account. It depends the size of the company. So if the size of the company is something like 500 to 1,000 employees, so we don't need business accounts for that. We just need a professional account. So when the size of the company is greater than 1,000 or greater than 1,500 employees, then they need the business account. So these are the 3 types of accounts that we have in the AWS. So we can create these 3 types of accounts. Now, in order to create the free tier account, you don't have to pay anything. Just the 2 rupees has to be paid. And after creating the account, that 2 rupees also will get credited in your account back. Okay. But whereas for professional and business account, you have to pay on yearly basis. So there will be charges for professional account creation and there will be charges for business account creation also. You have to pay for those accounts on monthly basis or on yearly basis. It depends on which type of selection you want to take. Suppose if you want to pay on monthly basis, then you can pay on monthly basis. If you want to pay on yearly basis, you can pay on yearly basis as well. So these are the 3 types of accounts in AWS. Now, coming back, let us understand a few more details with respect to the S3 service. Okay, we'll understand a couple of, just a second. Yeah, so we'll understand a couple of more details with respect to the S3 service. Now here, we are going to do, what are the tasks that we are going to do in this particular session is, we are going to do a couple of tasks. So let me list out the tasks first. So the first thing is, we are going to create an S3 bucket. Okay, we are going to create an S3 bucket. And once we create the S3 bucket, let me keep it as with default settings. I'm not going to change any kind of settings. With the default settings, I'm going to create one bucket. And then once we create the bucket, what we are going to do is we are going to upload the objects into the bucket. Okay, upload the objects into the bucket. Let's say that we are going to upload some 2 or 3 objects into the bucket. Once we upload the objects into the bucket, I'll show you how to download the objects into the physical device, that is your system. So download the objects from AWS Cloud to the physical device. So what does it mean by physical device? Physical device, as I mean your PC or desktop. Okay. So once we download the objects, or once we get to know these 3 tasks, then we are going to work with an advanced topics in the S3 service, which is called as access control list. Okay, which is called as access control list. So here in the access control list, what we are going to do is we are going to access, okay, try to access the objects that are stored in the S3 bucket. So how we are going to access this bucket, these objects, I'll show you that. So try to access the objects that are stored in the S3 bucket. And obviously you cannot access them on the browser. So here when I say access, I mean to say on browser. Okay, not on the cloud, but on the browser. And then we are going to do some kind of modifications. So settings has to be changed. And once we made some kind of setting changes, then we are going to access. Again, we'll try to access the objects on S3 on S3 bucket with respect to the browser. So this is what we are going to do. And once we complete this one, then we are going to talk about static website hosting. Anyways, that's again the second part. I'll talk about that in some time. But here, these are the tasks that we are going to create. But before creating these tasks, let me list you a couple of points which need to be understood. Here, yes, we know that in AWS Cloud, okay, AWS Cloud has been divided into multiple parts. What are they? We have seen in the last session. What is that? So the first thing is we have regions in the AWS cloud, and these regions are divided into availability zones. And these are in these availability zones, we have the data centers, and in these data centers, we have servers. So this is how AWS architecture has been divided. So we have regions. Inside the regions, we have availability zones. Inside the availability zones, we have the data centers. Inside the data centers, we'll have the servers, right? So here, S3 is a service which is a global service. Okay, S3 is a global service. I have given a brief introduction about this one, that global service terminology in the last session, but here we are going to see what exactly I mean by saying global service. So S3 is a global service, and it is not okay, and it is not region specific. Okay, it is not region specific. Now, when I say it is not a region specific, what does I mean is here, whenever you want to create a bucket in S3 service, okay, whenever you want to create a bucket in S3 service, you cannot create the bucket in S3 service by being in specific region. Suppose let's say that assume that my laptop is one region. Okay, let's assume that my laptop is one region. Now, whatever the folders that I am creating in these ones, you can see there are multiple folders, multiple files that are available. Now, whatever the folders that I am creating here, all these folders are limited to my laptop only. Okay, the same folders you cannot see in your laptop. So that means if you consider my laptop as one region, whatever the files or whatever the folders that I'm creating in my laptop, they are specific to one region, or they are specific to one laptop only. Now, here in AWS, we are going to create, that is in S3 service, is actually a global service. You cannot create an S3 bucket with respect to one particular region. Okay, we are going to create the S3 buckets with respect to global service. So that means when we are creating S3 buckets, okay, when we are creating S3 buckets, the name of the bucket, okay, the name of the bucket must be, okay, must be globally unique. This is the most important point. The name of the bucket must be globally unique. That means nobody else has used that particular bucket name, whatever the bucket name. Suppose let's say here I have created a bucket called Ansible playbooks. Now, can you create the same folder in your laptop with the same name? Yes, it's possible. Apart from that, can I create one more folder with the same name in some other path? Yes, it is possible in the same system or in the different system. So here what is happening, with the same name, we can create multiple folders either in the same system or in a different system. But whereas in the S3 cloud or whereas in the AWS cloud, once we are creating an S3 bucket, the name of the S3 bucket must be globally unique. Okay, the name of the S3 bucket must be globally unique. So this is something which is most important with respect to the S3 service. Even if you try to give a non-globally unique name, AWS S3 will not consider. It will give you the warning that this name has already been used. You have to use a new name. So it will. I'll show you that in some time. Right. So this is about a brief introduction towards the S3 service. So here what we are going to do is we are going to do all these tasks. Okay, right. So in order to do all these tasks, you need to have an AWS account, especially those who are willing to continue in the AWS cloud. I suggest you to go with the creation of AWS account. However, it is going to come for 12 months of period. So you can create the AWS account, those who are looking for future in the AWS cloud, especially. Right. So here I have my AWS cloud, I mean the AWS account. So here in the search box, if you just type S3, okay, if you just type S3 in the search box, you can see this option called S3 service. Okay, there is an icon called bucket icon you can see here. Okay, just click on S3 and here we are going to create the buckets. Okay, we are going to create the buckets. And before creating the buckets, you can see on the top right side. Okay, you can see on the top right side, are we seeing any region name here? No. Suppose, let's say, I'll just come out of this S3 service. Right. Now, can you see in which region I am there? From which region I'm accessing my AWS account? There is a region called Ohio. So from the region called Ohio, I am accessing my S3 bucket. You can access, not S3 bucket, my AWS account. So you can access your AWS account from all these regions, whichever region you want to access from all these regions, you can access. So there are almost 22 regions that are available. Very recently, the Hyderabad region was also added. Okay, I'll show you that. So as of now, we have the Mumbai region, but Hyderabad region was also added in recent times. Okay, right. So here you can see the Hyderabad region. Okay, this was recently added, somewhere like February or March 2023, it was added. Right. So now when I'm trying to access my AWS account, I am accessing my AWS account with respect to region specific. Now, as soon as I go to the S3 service, this Ohio, you will not see the region name. Instead, what you will see it as global service, or you will see it as global. What does it mean by global? That means whatever the buckets that you are going to create, all these buckets must be globally unique buckets. Now, suppose, let's say here you can see there are a couple of buckets that are available with some names. Can you see the bucket name here? So 11th April demo IAM, some name I have given. Now, if you try to create the bucket with the same name in your AWS account, you will not be able to create. Why? Because I have already used this name. You should use the exact name. So when you use exact name and when you try to create the bucket in your AWS account, it will not allow you to create. Even in my AWS account also, if I use the same name to create the bucket, it will not allow me to create the same bucket with the same name. Why? Because whatever the buckets that we are going to create in the AWS cloud, all those buckets are globally unique buckets. Okay, all the bucket names are globally unique buckets. Right. So how will you create a bucket? You can see there is an option called create bucket, the orange color option. Just click on create bucket, and here it will ask you a couple of details. I'll talk about each one of them in some time. Now, the first thing that you have to give is bucket name, which is basically the folder name. And here you can see bucket name. Okay, bucket name must be globally unique and must not contain spaces or uppercase letters. Okay, it should not contain any spaces and it should not contain any uppercase letters. That are capital letters should not be there. Right. Suppose, let's say I'm just going to create a bucket with the name called workshop-bucket. Okay, I'll just make it as AWS-workshop-bucket. Okay, this is the bucket that I'm trying to create. So you can choose any region. That is not a mandatory thing. So you can choose whatever region that you want, either Ohio or Mumbai, whatever region that you want. So I'll just go with the default one. I'm not going to change this one. Right. And here the object ownership. So currently I'm not going to work with object ownership. Let us create the buckets with the default settings. After creating the bucket, I'll show you how to access them. Okay. So the first one is object ownership. Let it be the default case, which is ACLs disabled. I'll talk about this one in some time. Okay. And then the next one is block public access settings for this bucket. What does it mean by block public access? That means whatever the bucket that you are going to create, this bucket should not be accessible by the public. Suppose, let's say I'm creating my bucket in the S3 service. I don't want all of you to access my S3 bucket. So if you don't want anybody to access your bucket, then you can check this box. Okay, when you check this box, you can see the tick mark is available. When you check this box, that means you are going to block the public access. Okay, nobody will be able to access your bucket until or unless you give the permissions explicitly. So now I'm not giving any kind of permissions to access this bucket by the public. Right. So this is again the default settings. And then the bucket versioning, this thing we are going to see in the next session. So currently, let it be in the disabled state. I'm not going to touch that one. And the tags are basically optional. If you want, you can give, otherwise it's not required. And then the encryption part, let it be the default things. These are the much advanced options in the S3 service. So I'll not touch these ones. Let it be as it is. And with that, we are going to click on create bucket. Now, once you click on create bucket, if the name of the bucket is globally unique, then automatically the bucket will get created. If the name of the bucket is not globally unique, then it will show us an error. Let us verify that whether we are creating a globally unique bucket or not. So I'm just clicking on create bucket. See, can you see the name that is coming here? Bucket with the same name already exists. Somebody has used this bucket name. So I cannot create this bucket with the same name. Okay, even if you try to click one more time, just click on create bucket, it is directly taking me to the bucket name and it is showing me the error. Okay, so there is already bucket with the same name. So we have to make sure the bucket should be globally unique. Let me give it as, I'll give it as today's date, 06. Let me click on create bucket and let's verify. You can see the bucket is getting created. You can see there is a notification that has come on the top, successfully created bucket with this name. Now, if you try to create the bucket with the same name, okay, if you try to create the bucket with the same name, you will see the error message. Okay, you'll see the error message, right? So now we have created the bucket. When we have created the bucket, you can see the metadata of the bucket creation. Metadata is nothing but the data about the data. Okay, that means when you have created, at what time you have created. That is called as metadata of the bucket. Right. So currently, whatever the bucket that we have created, and here in this bucket, we are going to upload the objects. Okay, we are going to upload the objects. Before that, you can see one option called access here. Can you see an option called access? Now here you can see one thing which is visible here, bucket and objects not public. That means whatever the bucket that you have created and whatever the objects that you are going to upload in this particular bucket, they are not visible for public. Okay, only you can access them. Nobody else can access them. Right? Right. So now the next task, what is our next task? The first task is we are going to create the bucket with the default settings. Now the next thing is we are going to upload the objects into the bucket. So let us try to upload the objects into the bucket. So in order to upload the objects into the bucket, just click on the bucket or open the bucket by clicking on it. And here you can see an option called upload. There are two options that you can see, upload and upload. You can click on any option. So just click on upload here. Once you click on upload, it will ask you whether you want to add the files or whether you want to add a specific folder itself. Now, suppose let's say in your laptop, you have a folder and in that folder, you have some multiple files. Now, you don't want to add the files individually. You want to add that entire folder directly into the S3 service or in the S3 bucket. So in such cases, you can click on add folder. Now, when you want to add the files individually, then you can click on add files. Suppose let's say I want to add one particular file. Okay, I want to add one or two files. So let us see how to add the files first, and then I'll show you how to add a folder itself. So just click on add files. And once you click on add files, you have to select whichever file that you want. Suppose let's say I want to add this particular file. Let's say this image file I want to add. Okay, this particular image file I want to add. So how will you add that? You will just select that file and then click on open. Once you click on open, now what happened? The file has been added into the bucket. Okay, the file has been added into the bucket. It is not uploaded, it is just added. Okay, you can see that is why it is clearly mentioned. You're going to add the file. That's it. Now, if you add the files, that does not mean this file is available in the bucket. If you want the file to be added into the bucket at a final level, you have to scroll down and you can see an option called upload. Only when you click on upload, then only this particular object will be visible in this particular bucket. Okay, whatever the bucket that you have created, in this bucket, if you just click on add files and if you do nothing, then the files will not be added, or then the objects will not be added. Once you add the files, you have to click on upload. Now, once you click on upload, what will happen is the file will get uploaded or the object gets uploaded. You can see the uploading status of the object as well. Uploaded, succeeded. I want one of you is being unmute, so please mute yourself. So that would be the best one. Just 1 minute, just check them. Yeah, so kindly don't unmute yourself till we complete the session. Thank you. So here you can see the upload status of the object. Okay, the upload status of the object is successful. You can see how many files we have uploaded. Only one file. What is the size of the file? You can see 184.2 KB is the size of the file. Do we have any files that are failed to upload? No, there are no files that are failed to upload. That means whatever the file that we have uploaded, that is success. You can see the file, whatever you have uploaded. This is the file name that we have uploaded, right? So if you click on close, you can see the object that you have uploaded. Let me show you that. Can you see the object? Yes. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to add the folder also. Let us try to add a simple folder. Let me click on upload again and then click on add folder. Now, what I want to do, I want to add a complete folder. Okay, I want to add a complete folder. Let me click on add folder and then let me select one simple folder. Here you can see there is one folder which I have selected. Let me select this folder and then click on upload. Okay, and then click on upload and then click upload. Now, once you do this, you can see all the files, whatever that are available in that folder has been added. Now, let us add them or let us upload them. How will you do that? Just click on upload. Okay, click on upload. You can see the files are being uploaded. You can see the file status, how many files have been left and what is the size of files, all these things you can see. Right. You can see the upload status also, which is success. Now, if you click on close, you can see the file that we have added individually, and you can also see the folder that we have added. Now, inside this folder, there are some multiple files that are available. Some PNG files, some image files are available. You can see the status of each one of these files. So you can see the type of file, when we have uploaded, what is the size, which is storage class. Storage class is again a completely different concept, so let us not bother about that. Right. So that's how you can create a bucket and you can upload the files, which are basically the objects, and you can upload the folders also. Okay, you can upload the folders also. So upload the objects that into the bucket. So objects, I mean the files and buckets. Both we have done. I mean, not bucket, let me call it as folder. So we have uploaded one file and we have uploaded one folder into the S3 bucket. Now I have my data that is available in my cloud environment. Now I want to download this particular file into my local device, that is into my PC or into my personal computer. How will you download? You can see there is an option called download option. Okay, but currently this download option is disabled. Okay, this download option is disabled. Now, in order to download a specific object, we have to select that object. Suppose, let's say you can see a square box here, just check that box, and then you can see the download option has been enabled. Not just the download option, the other options also has got enabled. Now, when I uncheck, you can see the options has got disabled. When I check, you can see the options has been enabled. Now, once you select the object, and then if you click on download, automatically that will get downloaded into your physical device. You can see the download status that is happening here. Okay, you can see the downloading has been, the download of the object has been successful. Right. So that's how you can download the object. Now, can you delete this object? Yes, you can delete it. There is an option you can see here, delete. Okay, if you just click on delete, and if you confirm your deletion, that is, you just have to type permanently delete. Let me type permanently delete here. And then if you click on delete objects, then automatically this particular object will get deleted. Okay, currently I'll not delete this one. I'll show you how to delete in some time. We need to work with these things now. Right. So now I have uploaded the objects and I have uploaded the couple of files that are available in the folder also. Right. So now for every object that we are going to upload into the S3 bucket, we will have an object URL. Okay, we'll have an object URL. Let me write that. So for every object that we are going to upload into the S3 bucket, okay, into the S3 bucket, we will have an object URL. What is the use of this object URL? So by using this object URL, okay, by using this object URL, we can access the objects. Okay, we can access the objects outside of cloud environment. Let me show you that, how to do that one. So currently, you can see there is an object. If you click on the object or if you open the object, you will see an option called object URL. Okay, you'll see an option called object URL. Let me scroll down here. Can you see the option called object URL? Now, if I copy this object URL, okay, you can see, you can click on these square boxes or you can just select everything and then right click and copy or Control C, anything you can do. So now I'm copying this object URL. Now, this object URL, if you go to a new tab and if you paste it here, and if I click enter, let us check whether we are able to access or not. Okay, we should be able to access. But before that, what I'll show you is, let me do one thing. Here you can see an option called open. Okay, if you click open, will we be able to see the object or not? Yes, we are able to see the object, right? How I am accessing this object? I am accessing this object by being in the cloud environment. Okay, I'm in the AWS cloud, and in the AWS cloud, I have this option called to open any object, not just the PNG files, any files, even the PDF files or documents, whatever that is there, you can open them. But here I'm accessing this particular file by being in the cloud environment. And that is the reason why I am able to see this object. Okay, the content inside the object or the object itself. Now, what I'm doing here, in this case, I'm not accessing the object by being in the cloud environment. How I'm trying to access? I am trying to access by using the object URL. Okay, I'm trying to access the object by using the object URL. So I'm just copying the object URL, go to new tab, and I'm just pasting that object URL. Let me click enter and let's verify whether we are able to access this object or not. Let me click enter here. Now, if you click enter, after some time, you will see the error message. Can you see the error message? What it is saying? Access denied. That means we have not given the permission to access this object by using the link. So when you are working with the cloud environment, you can open the device. I mean, you can open the objects and all. That's not a problem. That is what we are seeing here. But when you try to access the objects from outside of the cloud environments, that is basically by using the object URL, you will not be allowed, even though you are using the same AWS account. Since you are trying to access the object outside of the cloud environment, you are also getting the access denied option. That is error message you are seeing. Why this error message is being seen? It is because we are trying to access this particular object explicitly outside of the cloud environment. Okay, explicitly from the outside of the cloud environment, we are trying to access, and hence we are unable to access the object. Okay, and hence right. So since I am trying to access the object from outside of the cloud environment, I'm not able to access it. Right. So now how we can access this file outside of the cloud environment? Okay, how we can access this file outside of the cloud environment? So for that, we are going to work with the next thing, which is called as access control list, which is called as ACL. Okay, which is called as ACL. So here what we have to do is we have to enable the ACL. Okay, we have to enable the ACL. After enabling the ACL, we have to work with the block all public access. So when we are creating a bucket, I showed you there is an option called block all public access. So we have to work with the ACL and we have to work with the block all public access options. Let me show you how to do that. So let me go here. So this one I'm closing it, but this one I'm just keeping as it is. Right. So now I want to access this particular object. Okay, I want to access this particular object. Now for that, you can see an option called permissions. Okay, you can see an option called permissions. So just click on permissions here, and here you can see the access control list. Okay, this is the one that we are going to modify. Okay, this is the one that we are going to modify. Now, if you want to modify this one, how to do that? You can see on the right side, there is an option called edit option. But is this option enabled or disabled? It is disabled. So how to enable this edit option? Okay, how to enable this edit option? So in order to enable this edit option, you can see the one option called bucket owner enforced. Okay, you can see an option called bucket owner enforced. So just click on bucket owner enforced. Once you click on bucket owner enforced, when we are creating the bucket, which option we have chosen? We have chosen to ACLs disabled. Now I want to enable it. Okay, now I want to enable it. You can see when I enable, it is showing me some warning message. We recommend disabling ACLs unless you need to control access for each object individually. Now I want to access the object individually from outside of the cloud environment. So that in order to access the object from outside of the cloud environment, first we have to enable the ACL. Okay, first we have to enable the ACL. That is the first step. So let me check this ACLs enabled, and here you have to acknowledge it. Okay, just check this box. I acknowledge that ACLs will be restored. Just check that one and then click on save changes. Now, once you click on save changes, that does not mean you can access this object. Now, suppose let's say I'm just clicking on reload. Even if you click on reload, it will not work. Why? Because it has multiple layers of security. Okay, it has multiple layers of security. So here we are crossing only one layer of security. What is that first layer? That first layer is enabling the ACLs. Okay, the first layer is enabling the ACLs. Now, the next layer is we need to uncheck this block all public access. Okay, we need to uncheck the block all public access. Currently, you can see the block all public access option is turned on. So when you see it as on, that means nobody can access. Now we need to off this. Okay, we need to turn off the block all public access. Now how to do that? In order to turn off the block all public access, you can see an option called edit option here. Under block public access, you can see an option called edit. So just click on edit, and now you can see this one. Okay, the block all public access setting. Here you have to uncheck this one. Okay, here you have to uncheck this one. Just uncheck that. That means you are trying to give the public access. Okay, you are trying to give the public access. Just uncheck this one and then scroll down, click on save changes. And it is asking for the confirmation. Just type confirm here and then click on confirm. Now with this, what happened? The block all public access is turned off. You can see here, earlier it was on, now it is off. Now that means we are able to access, or we will be able to access this object. Let us verify whether we will be able to access this object or not. Okay, I'll just click on reload here, and you can still see the error message. We are not able to access this one. So what is the first layer of security? Let me write that. So in order to access the objects, okay, in order to access the objects using object URL, we have three layers of security. Okay, we have three layers of security. What are they? The first one is enable the ACLs. Okay, the first one is enable the ACLs. That we have done already. And the second one is uncheck or off the, or uncheck or off, anything you can say, of the block all public access. Okay, of the block all public access. This is what we have done so far. And we have the third layer of security where we have to make objects using public. I'll just check that option. I'm not sure what exactly is the name of that option. Let me check that. So here you can see those two options are done now. Okay, these two options are done now. Now we have the third option where if you go to the object, okay, if you go to the object, just click on the object, and here you can see an option called object actions. Okay, you can see an option called object actions. Now, if you click on that one, there will be one option called make public using ACL. Okay, if you scroll down, there is an option called make public using ACL. That is what we have to write. So make public using ACL. Okay, so we have to make the object public using the ACL. So just click on this option, make public using ACL, and then this is the object that we want to public. Okay, we want to make it public. So just click on make public. Now, once you click on make public, what will happen? Now the object is accessible outside the cloud environment. Okay, now the object is accessible outside the cloud environment. If you go to the bucket, okay, if you go to the bucket, this is the object. Now, for the object, I have already copied the object URL. And if you reload this page, okay, if you reload this page, can you access the object? Yes, we are able to access the object. So that's how you can access your object. Now, if you give the link, okay, if you give this object URL to any of you, if I give the object URL to any of you, you can still access this object. Why? Because I have made it public. Doesn't matter who, whether I'm accessing from my device or from your devices, you will still be able to access this particular object. You don't need an AWS account to access the objects. Okay, only thing is you should get the access. Once you get the access, then you can directly access the objects. Let me do you that part further. So I'll do one thing. I'll just post this URL into the chat box. So one of you can access, and you can check whether you are able to access that object or not. So I have just pasted that URL into the chat box. One of you or whoever wants to try, just give it a try, whether you are also able to access the object or not. You should be able to access. Right. Once, if somebody is trying to access, just confirm me that whether you are able to access it or not. Has anybody tried with that one, with the link that I have provided in the chat box? Are you able to access the object that I have given?
Yes, sir, it is accessible.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. So that's how anybody, any one of you can access that one. I mean, every one of you can access that particular object using ACL. Okay, using that object URL. Now, in order to make this object public, how many layers of security I have breached? I have 3 layers of security. First thing is I have enabled the ACL. Next thing is I have turned off the block all public access. And then I have made make public using ACL. So this is the level of security that you have in the cloud environment. So in general, we don't have these many levels of security. Again, this is just the 3 levels of security. We have multiple levels of security. There are almost 6 different levels of securities that are available in the AWS cloud. But for time being and for time constraining factors, I'm just these 3 major ones. Okay. Now, suppose let's say I want to turn off the block all public access. I don't want to access this object by using object URL. Now, when you don't want to give access, do you necessarily need to turn off all these options? No. Even if you turn off any one of these options also, the object will not be accessible by the public. Okay, even if you turn off this any one of these 3 options, the people who are having the object URL will not be able to access. Let us try to do that. Now, you don't need to do all these 3. Okay, you can turn off any one of these 3 and the people will not be able to access. But if you want to give the access, you should mandatorily give all these 3 options. But if you want to turn off, if you just turn off any one of these 3 options, the people cannot access the object. Let us try to do that. So currently I'm able to access the object. Now what I'll do is just go to this object actions, and here, instead of going with make public use ACL, I'll just go to permissions here. And in the permissions, what I'll do is this access control list, just go on edit here. And for this access control list, what I'm going to do is I am going to turn off these changes. You can see there is an option called everyone, which is basically public access. I will uncheck this box. When I uncheck this box, what does it mean? It means nobody can access the object. Let us try that. Let me click on save changes. So once I click on save changes, if I go to this page and if I reload this one, okay, can you see access denied is coming? Even now, whoever is, I mean, the URL is still available in the chat box. If you try to access that link, you will not be able to see the object URL. I mean, you will not be able to see the object that is available in the S3 bucket or in my S3 bucket. So that's the level of security that AWS provides. And that's the reason why most of the companies are switching towards the cloud environment, any type of cloud environment. But the reasons are very specific. You have more and more advantages with respect to the security, with respect to the versioning factors, with respect to the data loss factor. There are many kinds of features that are available. Okay, so that's about how to work with the three buckets and ACLs. So these are all things that we have in this for the past 1 hour. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is let us try to delete the bucket. Okay, let us try to delete the bucket and objects. Okay, delete the bucket and objects inside the bucket. Now, how to delete that? Can we delete directly the bucket? Let us try to do that. So let me go to buckets here, and this is my bucket that I have. Now, I want to delete this bucket directly. Can we delete that? Suppose, let's say, I'll go into this folder. Now, in this folder, suppose, let's say, there is this folder called Ansible Playbooks. In this folder, I have some files. Okay, I have some files that are available. Now, do I need to delete these files in order to delete the folder? No, I don't need to do. Directly, I can select the folder and then I can delete it. Okay, if I click on delete, let me do that. So if I do right click and if I click on delete, the object has got deleted or the folder has got deleted. I don't want to delete that actually. It's something very important for my batches. So here we don't want to delete these objects or delete these files in order to delete the folder. Okay, we can delete directly the folder. But whereas in S3, you cannot directly delete the object, delete the bucket. Okay, you can directly delete the bucket. Let me show you how to do that. So just select the bucket, okay? And if you click on delete here, you will not be able to delete the bucket. Okay, you'll not be able to delete the bucket. You can see the error message is appearing. So this bucket is not empty. If you want to delete the bucket, first buckets must be empty before they can be deleted. So if you want to delete a bucket which is having some objects inside it, first you have to delete the objects that are available inside the bucket, and then only you delete the bucket. So till then, you cannot delete the bucket. This is again another level of security, you can say. Okay, the basic level of security. So if anybody wants to try to delete the bucket from this way or from front end, they will not be able to delete. So what is telling? First, you have to delete the objects and then only you can delete the bucket. Let me select these objects. You can see the delete option. I'm just selecting both the objects at a time. And then you can just confirm by typing permanently delete. So let me type that and then click on. Now the objects will, you can see successfully objects. Now we can delete the bucket because there are no objects that are available. You can see there are 0 objects that are available. So when the bucket is empty, then only you can delete the bucket. Until or unless if the bucket is not empty, you cannot delete the bucket. So let me select this one, click on delete. Now you will not see any kind of error message. Okay, you just have to give the bucket name that you want to delete. Just copy the name and give it and then click on delete bucket. Now the bucket also has got deleted. You will not find the bucket again. Okay, that because that got deleted. So that's how you can delete the buckets and objects. So before deleting the bucket, so let me keep it as a note here, note. So before deleting the bucket, okay, before deleting the bucket, the objects inside the bucket, okay, the objects inside the bucket must be deleted. Okay, the objects inside the bucket must be deleted. Then only it is possible to delete the bucket. Right. So that's about the first part of this session. The second part is how to host a static website in S3 bucket. Okay, I'll just make it as a static website hosting, in S3 bucket. So how to host a static? Remember, it's a static website. It's not a dynamic website. We have 2 types of websites in general. I mean, those who are from computers background, they know well aware. I mean, they must be well aware of the type of websites that we have. So the 2 types of websites are, the first one is called as a static website and the second one is called as dynamic websites. Now, what is the difference between a static website and dynamic website? Static website is something which doesn't change. It will remain same. Doesn't matter who the user is. Depending upon the user, the website interface will not get changed. The best examples for static website is all the newspaper websites. Okay, suppose if you access the newspaper website, any website that you try to access, suppose let me go to Google and let me try to access the newspaper called Hindu newspaper. Now here, if I click on the very first link, whatever the interface that I am seeing, the same interface you will also see. Okay, unless if you are clicking on the same link, the same interface you will see. Okay, that's a static website. So static website is something which doesn't change based upon the user or based upon the location of the user. Irrespective of various factors, the website content or the website interface will remain same. That's simply a static website. To keep it in a simple term, that's a static website. Now we have the dynamic website. Dynamic website is a website which changes based on user interface or based upon the type of user. Suppose, let's say you want to access your students. We all have the Instagram accounts. That's common. That has become a common now. Now, suppose, let's say I'm going to log into my Instagram account, and when I log into my Instagram account, I will see a separate content. Suppose I have a different set of followers. I am going to follow different set of people, different set of pages, Instagram pages. I'll follow a couple of rules or a couple of things that I want. Now, based upon my followers, based upon the things that I'm following in the Instagram, and based upon my feed or the history feed, it will show me a dynamic content. Now, when you see, you will also have the Instagram account, and I also have the Instagram account. Do we both, we both of us, are we going to see the same content? No, obviously we don't see the same content. Why we don't see the same content? Because we might be following different pages or different Instagram pages. We might be searching for different things. So we are not same here. So that's the dynamic website. So here, what we are going to do is, I'll show you how to host a simple static website. Okay, I'll show you how to host a simple static website. So there are some templates that are readily available from Google searches. I'll just get the templates. From those templates, I'm going to show you how to host a static website. Okay, I'm going to show you how to host a static website. I hope the thing is clear with respect to the difference between static website and dynamic website. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to perform a couple of tasks. The first task that we are going to do is we need to create a bucket. Why? Because we want to host the static website. So for that, we need to create a bucket. And then once after creating a bucket, there is this website which is called as HTML5 free templates download. There is this website called HTML5 free template. So access this website or go to this website, download, go to this website and download any sample pages. Okay, see here I cannot create one HTML file for you. It becomes a little difficult because of the time constraint. So I'll just go and download some sample templates that are available. And then if you download these sample templates, what we will do is upload the sample template. Okay, sample template, and download any sample template, not pages, sample template. Upload the sample template and its related documents or related files and folders. Both you have to do. Whatever the things that you are going to download, everything you have to upload it. So upload its related files and folders into the S3 bucket. Once we upload, then try to access the website by using the URL. I'll talk about what is URL in some time. Okay, there will be a URL for static website. I'll show you that URL. Right, this is what we are going to do. So let me go to the the S3 bucket, S3 service. Here I'm going to create one bucket with the name static website -workshop let me give it as today's date. And I'm going to go with the default settings. I'm not going to change any of these settings, and then click on create bucket. So with this, we have created the bucket. Okay, with this, we have created the bucket. Now, let me go to the website called HTML5 free templates download. So you can see this one. So you can go with any of the options. You can check with this one, whatever the things that you want to download. All these are same websites only. So let me select this one. And here, what I'll do is just select any one template. Okay, let me go with this particular template. Okay, so here I'll just click on download so that the folders related to this template will get downloaded. Before showing that one, let me do one thing. I'll just click on live demo here. Okay, let object get downloaded. So now whatever the website that we are going to host in our S3 bucket, that website should look exact like this. Let it come. It is getting loaded. But here the object has got the folder has got downloaded. Let me do one thing. I'll just sorry. Open the. I have just by mistake and I close up the browser. Okay, down so I can show you. Before that, let me do one thing. I'll just create a folder here, which is static website. I'm just giving a name to the folder. And here I'm going to copy that folder, whatever that I have downloaded the website. Okay. So now what we are going to do is I have already created a bucket. Now in that bucket, whatever the files that are available in this zip file, it's basically a zip file. You can see the type of the file. It's a zip file. Let us extract this zip file. Click on extract so that the zip file gets extracted. Once the zip file gets extracted, what we are going to do is whatever the files and folders that are available. You can see there are a couple of folders that are available and a couple of files also that are available. I'm going to download all these things, or I'm going to upload all these things into my S3 bucket. Let us see that. So before that, let me go to the bucket. We created the bucket, this one. So this is the bucket. And here I'm going to upload all the things. Okay, let me get the path of the website. So click on upload and then click on add file. And here I'm going to give the select the folder. So this is the one. So first we have to select the files. Okay, because these are the folders. Folders we have to upload separately and files we have to upload separately. So click on apply or open. The files has been uploaded or added, you can say. Now let's add the folders. Now, when you want to add the folders, you have to add the folders individually. You cannot add all the folders at a time. Okay, it's not possible. So you have to select individual folder and then upload, add it. So let me add all the remaining folders as well. Fonts. You should upload all the things. Then only you will see the exact website that you are looking for. So let me click on icons. So let me upload them and then add folder. After icons, we have images. Let me click on load, add folder, and then JS, that is JavaScript files. Right. So here I have added all the things, whatever I have downloaded from the website. Now let us click on upload. Okay, so that the files will get uploaded. You can see there are total 92 files that are available with a size of 9.5 MB. Check that. So let it be uploaded. Before that, meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll show you that template that I have downloaded some time back. Yeah, so this is the template that I have downloaded. Okay, if you click on live demo, what it should happen is whatever the website that we are going to see here, the same website you should be able to access from our S3 bucket also. Okay, that means S3 bucket in the sense from our cloud domain as well. So how to do that? Let me show that. So let the demo come. Yeah. So we should see exactly like this. Okay, whatever the things that you are seeing here, exactly in this way, we should be able to access our website. I mean, it's not our website, it's a template that we have downloaded. We should see the exact template. When you try to access from the AWS cloud. So let these get uploaded. It is taking some time. So meanwhile, if you have any doubts, the time it takes at least 2 to 3 minutes of time. So if you have any doubts, we can I can go with your doubts. If you want, you can post your doubts in the chat box also. I'll be answering those questions as well from the chat box also. For those who are having any doubts, you can unmute and ask the doubts, or you can post the questions in the chat box as well. So I have to wait. There is no other option. So till all these files gets uploaded, I have to wait for them to upload, and then only I'll be able to access. So meanwhile, if you have doubts, you can unmute and ask the doubts, whatever that you have related to cloud environment, or even the internship training, or even the training itself on AWS and DevOps together. So just clarify your doubts. Yeah, Monica, you have raised a hand. May I know what is your question? Here you might have a question like why it is taking this much time to just upload some 10 MB size or something like that, around 10 MB. It's because of the internet connection which I have, because here there is a power cut that happened. So I had to connect with my mobile data. So that's why it is taking some time. So usually it will not take that time if you have a proper internet connection. I mean, like proper speed of internet connection. It just hardly takes some 10 to 15 seconds, not more than that. Since I am connected with my mobile data, it's going little slow. Meanwhile, let me give the thing about internship training that we are going to provide. So I hope you are all aware. So those who have not joined in the yesterday's session, so for them, I'm just giving one more time. So we are going to provide the internship training on AWS AWS and DevOps as well. So DevOps, I would say you can learn only after AWS if you know AWS. So without knowing the AWS, it's not possible to learn DevOps. You can learn, that's not a problem, but you feel much complex. So first, you should give preference to learning of the cloud environment, whichever you feel like. But here, as we are going to provide the training on AWS cloud. So we are going to provide the internship training on AWS cloud, and the duration of the internship training is 30 working days. So it's exactly excluding holidays, we are going to work with this. So, and here we are going to cover different services. Okay, like different services, like you can say services covered. So the services that we are going to cover are S3 service, and then EC2 service, and then IAM and load balancer. We're going to cover another service called as Elastic Block Storage, and then we are going to see another set of services, which is like load balancer, Elastic Block Storage, and the virtual private cloud, which is called as a VPC, virtual private cloud, and then identity and access management. I have given the identity and access management here, which is IAM. So we are going to work with IAM as well. And then we are going to work with another service called CloudWatch, and then simple notification service, which is called as SNS. In order to get the notifications, we are going to use this service, which is called a simple notification service. So these are the major things that we are going to cover in the internship training, and the fee for this internship training is 3,000 rupees. Okay, if any of you or the students from any specific college, or it's a request for the faculty who has joined this particular session, if you want your student to get into the AWS cloud, or if any of your students are willing to see the career in AWS cloud, you can consider this as the first level of step, where we are going to teach starting from the beginner level to the advanced level. Whatever the services that we have covered here, all these services we are going to teach it to an advanced level in such a way that even in the interviews, if they face any kind of questions from these services, they will be able to answer. So that's something that we are going to do. Apart from this, what else we are going to do is we are going to make the students to work on 2 different projects. Okay, so 2 real-time projects will be taught. 2 real-time projects will be taught, which is completely based on industry type. Okay, whatever the projects that we have done over the past years, from those we have got some 2 or 3 projects. Out of them, we are going to teach 2 projects. Okay, 2 real-time projects will be taught, and these projects will be completely based on industry experience only. It's not something just for namesake. Nothing is going to be taught. It's completely the real-time thing. So after getting these 2 real-time projects, the first project that we are going to teach is called as a 3-tier application. So there is a project called a 3-tier application. So how to deploy a 3-tier application into the AWS cloud, that we are going to see. And then the next thing is we are going to work with the integration of multiple services in AWS. So how can we integrate multiple services in AWS, and how can we achieve the effectiveness of deploying an application or hosting an application? So integration of multiple services in AWS. So these are the 2 projects that we are going to cover. Right. So this is about the internship training. If anybody is willing to look to get trained with AWS and DevOps as well, so we are also going to provide the AWS and the DevOps training as well. So here in the AWS and DevOps training, in AWS, we are going to cover number of services covered in AWS there are almost 13 services that we are going to cover. And similarly, in DevOps also, we are going to cover almost 12 tools, 12 or 13 tools, you can say. So number of tools covered in DevOps classes we are going to cover 12 tools. 12 or 13, you can say 13 tools. Among all these tools, we are going to cover the most important tool, which is called as Jenkins if I start from the beginning, we'll be working with Linux, and then we are going to work with Git and GitHub, and then Maven software, Maven tool, you can say, and then Jenkins. We are going to work with the Docker, Tomcat server, and then Nginx server, and then Ansible. There is this thing called Ansible, and then we are going to work with the Terraform, and finally we are going to work with the Kubernetes as well. These are things we are going to cover. The duration DevOps training will come to 5 years. And in this AWS and DevOps training, we are going to cover 5 different projects. Okay, the number of projects that we are going to cover are 5. So 2 projects will be based on AWS and 3 projects on DevOps. So this is all what I can tell about the internship training as well as the training related to AWS and DevOps. Right. So let us go back and check whether the uploading of the objects is successful or not. Yeah. So we have uploaded all these objects, right? So now you can see there are objects that we have uploaded. So these are the objects. Suppose now, let's say there is this file called index.html file. You can access any file, but currently what I'll do is I'll just open this file, which is called as index.html file. And we know that for every file, we'll get an URL that's called as object URL. So just copy this object URL and go to new tab. And if you paste it here and click enter, you should see the error message. Why we are seeing this error message? We will see that. But why we see that error message is because of we have not given any kind of permission. Okay, we have not given any kind of permission. So now how to give the permission for a specific file? So in order to give the permission for a specific file, we need to go to permissions. And in the permissions, you can see this option under access control list, bucket owner enforced. So just click on bucket owner enforced, ACLs enabled, and then confirm it, and then click on save changes. Same pattern, whatever we have followed some time back. So that's the first level. You can see, okay, it has got expired. So let me click on sign in. It happened. Just give me a second. I'll just reconnect it because network issues. Just a second. Yeah, right. I hope you are able to see the screen. Right, I have just logged in once again. So first we have to enable the ACL. Just check ACLs enabled and then acknowledge it and then click on save changes. Now, once you click on save changes, it is just the first level of security. So we have 2 more layers of security. What is the second layer? The second layer is block all public access. So we need to turn off this one. So currently it is on. So just click on edit and then uncheck this box and then click on save changes and it will ask for the confirmation. Just type confirm and then click on confirm. So the changes will be saved. That's the second layer of security. Next layer of security, the next layer of security is we have to go to the object. Okay, which specific object we are trying to access? This one, index.html. So just open index.html file, go to object actions, make public using ACL, and then you have to make that object using public using ACL. Just click on make public. Now we know that for every object we have the object URL. Now I have already pasted this object URL, and if you reload this page, you should see the website. Okay, you should see the website. Now, can you see this website? Yes. We are able to see the website, but here it's called as a broken website. Why I'm calling it a broken website? See, mic. You will see the same content here also. Okay. See, can you see that mic? Yes, we are able to see. And you can see our services, mic line, all these things you will see. Okay, our services, and then mic line, mic stand, head mic, all these things you are able to see. But it's not exactly like this. Why? Because in order to run a website, it is not just for the index.html file. So in order to run the website, we have multiples. We have different HTML pages, we have different scripts that will be available. We have the Java scripts and we have HTTP scripts. Multiple things will be. So here, as of now, for how many files I have given access? Only for this file, only for the file called index.html file. Now, whatever the content that is available in the index.html file, only those contents you are able to see. Okay, only those contents you are able to see. And that's why it's called as a broken website, not a full-fledged website. As like here, you are not seeing the complete website just like this here. Okay, it's a broken website. Now, how to give the permissions for all the objects and folders that are available in the bucket? Are we going to individually give the permissions to all the objects and folders? If you try to do that, it will take too much of time. Now here I have only 9 objects, but let's say in real-time industry, you have some hundreds of folders are also there. Now will you sit and do it for individual folder? No, it's not possible. So in that case, we have this option in AWS, which is called as static website hosting. Okay, we have this option which is called a static website hosting. In order to enable the static website hosting, we have to follow 2 steps. The first step is just to select whatever the objects are available in the bucket. Okay, in this bucket, whatever the objects that are available, just to select all the objects. Okay, just select all the objects. And then here you can see an option called actions. Can you see this option? Actions. So click on actions and you can see this option called make public using ACL. So here what I am doing, I am selecting all the objects and I am making them public at a time. Okay, I'm making them public at a time. So select all the objects, go to actions, and then scroll down to see the option called make public using ACL. Click on make public using ACL and then click on save changes. Okay, and then click on save changes. So click on make public, and once you click on make public, once it got public, you can see editing public access on the top. Once the public access is successfully given, then you can see the public, then you can see the public. Now you can see edited public access. Now, if you go to the page and if you reload, you should see the same website as it is. Let's check that. So if you reload the page, you should see the website. Just like the other one, whatever that we are seeing here, just like that we should be able to see. Right, it's getting loaded, get loaded. Option, I will see the content of the website. So that's how you can host the static website into the S3 bucket. So since, again, as I was mentioning, the network connection is little low for today's session. So that's why it's getting loaded, but you will still be able to access this one. Even I'll give this link in the chat box, what you can try to access and check whether you are able to access the complete website or not. So you should not see the broken website now. You see the complete website. Just like this, you should see everything as it is. Just one of you can try and check whether you are able to see the broken website, the full-fledged we are talking about. So in my case, it is getting loaded. Maybe it takes some time, but you might be having a proper internet connection, so you can try and check with that. Has anybody tried with that one? with the link that I have given? Are you able to see the full-fledged website or the broken website? We have to see the full-fledged website, not the broken website. Anybody has given a try? That would be the best because I can move to the next thing. Anybody has tried to access the link that I have provided? You can just think and you should see the website just like this. It is like this, you should see. So you should, so you can try to access. So I'm trying to access it from my mobile, so it is working proper fine. I mean, we are able to see the website as it is. There's no problem with the website. Okay, so that's how you can host a static website inside the S3 bucket. Okay, that is all about this particular session. So in this session, we have seen two different things. The first one is I have shown you how to create the bucket and how to work with the buckets. And the second thing is I have shown you how to create or how to host a static website into an S3 bucket. Okay, this is all about from my side for this particular session. In the next session, we are going to see an advanced topic in S3 service, which is called as S3 versioning. So we are going to see this one in the next session. So that's from my end. If you have any doubts, I'm now ready to take your doubts. Thank you.